Welcome to Chatting with Chuck. I'm your host, Chuck. Today I'm talking to Mark Lockus, and we're going to talk about Codesys. So, Mark, thanks for joining me for a brief discussion on Codesys. What exactly is Codesys?
Well, thanks, Chuck. Codesys is actually an IEC 61131-3 standard for software-based control of automation systems, such as industrial automation. Sometimes this is called soft PLC. This software was developed by the 3S company, which stands for Smart Software Solutions. Codesys is an abbreviation of Controller Development System.
So, Mark, what is a 61131?
Well, IEC 61131-3, the -3 actually means it's the third part of an international standard for programming PLCs, or programmable logic controllers. It basically defines the development or programming environment. The Codesys IEC 61131 development software can be run in Windows on a standard PC, such as a commercially available laptop. The IEC 61131 development software has a standard look and feel that is defined by 5 programming languages. The language perhaps most familiar to industrial automation engineers who are familiar with programming PLCs is ladder diagram, or LD, often referred to as ladder logic. This is a symbolic graphical language, programmed like an electrical diagram, made up of symbols such as contacts and coils. The other 4 languages included are structured text, or ST, which is a textual language like C# or Visual Basic. And then there's also instruction list, or IL, which is also a textual language, but it's more like assembly language that you would be programming with the macro assembler or something like that. Then there's function block diagram, or FBD, which is a graphical language. It consists of function block objects tied together by lines in a flowchart-like structure. And then there's also sequential function chart, or SFC, also sort of like a flowchart, but having elements to organize programs for sequential and parallel control processing. Codesys also adds one more language not defined in the IEC 61131 standard. It is like the sequential function chart, but is much more flexible. It is continuous function chart, or what Codesys calls CFC, which is a function block editor, much like SFC, but more free-form, for instance, supporting things like feedback loop.
So, Mark, how is the development environment used to control an automation application?
Oh, good question, Chuck. Codesys actually consists of 2 parts. The program design software, which we were just talking about, and the runtime software. Both of these programs can be run on a standard PC, but the runtime software is often run on a definite purpose PC, that is, a hardware platform designed to run in an automation environment. For instance, Advantech makes the TPC models of computers with touchscreens specifically designed for application in industrial automation applications. Advantech also makes the compact Uno computer that does not have a display, and it's also designed for industrial applications. Some of these computers come with up to an Intel i7 processor, which promises really top-end Codesys performance and runtime. This also means the development software can be run on one computer, such as the design engineer's laptop, while the runtime software can be run on another computer on the plant floor, one of these industrial computers we just talked about. A project file is created in the development software and simply downloaded to the runtime computer and then run with the runtime application. Codesys Real-Time Runtime, or Codesys RTE, is a deterministic execution environment which loads essentially its own operating system into the host system, such as a Windows, Linux, or now even on a Raspberry Pi. In some circumstances, even if the operating system locks up, the Codesys may remain running because of the reliability of the Codesys deterministic shell.
So what do you mean by deterministic?
Well, Codesys is organized into tasks, which are further divided into POUs. And then POU is an IEC 61131 term meaning Program Organization Unit. When you create a task, you can create its execution trigger based on one of several criteria called types, such as the occurrence of an event or one of the tasks. Another trigger type is called cycle, where the cycle interval is defined in milliseconds. The default interval is 20 milliseconds. Assuming the user does not assign an interval that is faster than the computer is capable of executing that particular task, this will be a very deterministic occurrence. For example, if the default interval of 20 milliseconds is used for the cycle trigger on a particular task, and the computer is capable of executing that task in 20 milliseconds or less, it will be a very deterministic process, in that it will start precisely every 20 milliseconds and complete within that 20 millisecond span.
So, could you consider Codesys high-speed control?
Well, yes. A small process can run in sub-millisecond time intervals, even in low-power computers like a Raspberry Pi. Some PLCs and motion controllers run in the microsecond range. Codesys is capable of this, especially when the soft motion add-in is used. It is specifically designed to handle this sort of high-speed motion application deterministically. But as a specific application grows, the need for more processing speed and processing storage increases. So for larger applications, the power of a computer CPU and the amount of RAM and the storage device speed, such as the hard disk, can all be very significant. But admittedly, sometimes these factors must be determined empirically, that is, design the system and test it. Codesys on a PC is not the same as designing a ladder logic program on a PLC. PLC design software typically will not allow the user to exceed the capacity of the hardware, which helps maintain determinism. Codesys will run deterministically, but since the hardware is variable, determinism is limited by the capacity of the hardware.
So, are there any other outstanding features in Codesys?
Well, actually there are too many to talk about. Codesys has pages and pages on their website of add-ins supporting their software. But there are perhaps two others that are worth at least saying a little something about. That is the Visu add-ins or visualization add-ins. These are the new HMI add-ins for Codesys. There's Target Visu and Web Visu. Target Visu is an HMI software that runs in the Codesys runtime and displays the HMI screen on the local runtime computer on which the Codesys runtime is running. This HMI comes with the typical graphical symbols used in automation, including push buttons, pilot lights, analog displays, analog slider operator inputs, bar graphs, and all the typical animation capabilities. You've got all the tools necessary to create a great looking HMI screen. And then there's Web Visu. Web Visu is simply the capability of putting those HMI screens in a cloud where they can be accessed with things like a smartphone, tablets, and PCs with web browsers. All of this stuff is HTML5 output. Anyway, Advantech bundles Codesys with their Uno and TPC computer hardware. And this runtime bundle comes with Target Visu and Web Visu options already installed. Advantech also sells a pack controller, their Apex product, and they bundle that with Codesys as well. The Apex is basically an industrial PC with a proprietary deterministic I/O connection with a variety of I/O modules available. The Apex has a VGA port, it's got USB 2 and USB 3 ports, it's got 2 LAN ports, and it runs Windows, just like you would expect many industrial computers to do. So it is possible to connect a touchscreen display to the Apex, such as the Advantech FPM, and run both your control application and your HMI application from one Apex using Codesys.
Wow, Mark. Sounds like Codesys is powerful yet flexible control solution.
Well, that's too true, Chuck. Except for applications that best fit the very smallest micro PLCs, Codesys often proves to be the most effective solution, cost-effective solution, I should say, as well.
That's great, Mark. I appreciate you taking the time to give us a little insight on Codesys. This has been Chatting with Chuck. I'm your host, Chuck. Please stay tuned for further episodes.